morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to talk about a weird reprint. You see, Lucky Egg, right? Lucky Egg is a card that we got back in the Arceus expansion. And we only ever had it in the Arceus expansion, which came out in November 2004. It's coming back in 2020. A decade after it was initially released, for no particular reason that I can see at least. For some reason, we have the return of Lucky Egg. It's a little bit weird, except it's not that weird, because I actually told you this was happening. My Japanese source came through a few weeks ago now. My Japanese source said, look, Wossy, we're getting this back. Now, initially, we thought it was an item card, whereby if you had a Pokemon KO during your previous turn, you could draw until you've got 7 cards in your hand. That is not the case here. It is a Pokemon tool card, and what it does is if it is attached to a Pokemon and that Pokemon is knocked out, you draw until you've got 7 cards in your hand. Pretty gosh darn similar, but not exactly the same. It's a tool that has to be attached when you get KO'd, rather than an item card that you need to draw after you get KO'd. Still pretty gosh darn good. And the thing is, we are in a format at the moment where we can really take advantage of this. You see, ladies and gentlemen, there are 2 things that your opponent is going to want to do if you've got a Lucky Egg attached. Number 1, they're going to want to try and remove the Lucky Egg. Number 2, they are going to try and take out your bench Pokemon instead. Well, in terms of trying to remove the Lucky Egg, they're kind of out of luck. Time was we had Megaphone. Startling Megaphone. A Startling Megaphone was great. Startling Megaphone let you discard all tools from all of your opponent's Pokemon. That was good. That rotated out a while ago. But even in Expanded, we don't really play that because we got Field Blower in Expanded, which lets you discard 2 Pokemon tools and 2 Stadium cards, either yours or your opponent's, which lets you discard one of your own Pokemon tools. Remember, this is one of those games where you cannot attach a tool if there's a tool already attached. Something like Transformers, you can just replace a tool on there. That's not how Pokemon works. And it also lets you get rid of Stadium, so it's fairly a no-brainer here, right? You're gonna just go ahead and play this. But we don't have that in the format at the moment. What we have in the format at the moment is Faber. And Faber's great. Faber lets you put a tool in the Lost Zone, or a Special Energy in the Lost Zone, or a Stadium card in the Lost Zone. So it works against tools, it works against stadiums, it works against Special Energy. It puts them in the Lost Zone from whence they cannot be recovered, rather than putting them in the discard pile. It's amazing, with the sole exception, of course, that it's a supporter card. And Faber's just not seeing a huge amount of play. Oranguru decks do tend to pop Faber in there because they can recover it over and over again and get an awful lot of use out of a single Faber. Plus, they're generally playing stuff like Pidgeotto, which is their draw engine, which means they're not so worried about having to draw cards with supporters like Cynthia, which opens up their supporter slot for the turn for playing something like Faber. But I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, Faber's just not seeing a huge amount of play, which means Lucky Egg is likely to stick around. So maybe your opponent is going to gust around and take out one of your other Pokemon. Remember, Lucky Egg does not draw a set amount of cards. Lucky Egg draws however many cards you've got in your hand, taken away from 7. If you've got 2 cards in hand, Lucky Egg will draw you 5. Your opponent doesn't want to give you 5 cards. If you've got 6 cards in hand, Lucky Egg will draw you 1. It's not ideal, but your opponent will probably let you have the card. Whereas if you're going to be drawing 5, 6, 7 cards, your opponent is probably going to be rather keen to avoid the situation where you're drawing all of those cards. So what they want to do is gust around. So let's have a look at our gusting options. We've got Custom Catcher, but you've got to play 2 at the same time, which means even playing 4 in your deck means you're only actually getting 2 uses in the game, and that is assuming none have to be discarded, none end up in your prizes and you can't find them, etc. And that's actually seeing less play at the moment because of Great Catcher. And Great Catcher is, as the name might suggest, great. But the thing is, it only gusts EXs or GXs. Now, if you're playing this in an EX or GX deck, then yeah, Great Catcher is going to be able to flick around. But as I'm going to explain in a minute, Lucky Egg is better in a non-GX, non-V deck. It's better on single prize Pokemon. So that's kind of cool. So if you're playing in a single prize deck, Great Catcher's unlikely to do very much. The one that can really thwart you time and time again, the best gusting option we've got at the moment, is the Ninetales from Team Up. But the problem with the Ninetales from Team Up is it's a fire Pokemon. It goes into fire decks. It discards fire energy to do the gusting, and all this goes to say that it's only fire decks that are going to use it. And even with Welder, the good Welder decks at the moment seem to be more Mewtwo and Mew than actually fire Pokemon. Although to be fair, there's nothing to stop you popping Ninetales into Mewtwo and Mew. It's just not the way people tend to be going too much at the moment. So your opponent's unlikely to get rid of Lucky Egg, and your opponent is unlikely to gust around it if you're playing a non-GX deck. So it's likely that Lucky Egg is actually going to sit there and put in some work. It's likely that it's actually going to do the job you need it to do, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is wonderful. Now, the last time we saw a card like this really seeing play, it was Lucky Helmet, and it was in Gyarados decks. Now, Gyarados decks were horrendous for just needing awkward combos, and it really was really awkward to actually get it rolling. So what we had, it was the Gyarados from Ancient Origins, and you could actually put 2 Pokemon tools on, so you could put 2 Lucky Helmet and draw 4 cards, but you did 30 damage plus 30 more for each damage counter on each of your benched Magikarp. So essentially, every turn, you would need a new Gyarados, you would need a new Magikarp, you would need a new Team Magma's base, so when you played down the Magikarp, it took 2 damage. I mean, maybe you still had Magma's base out, but it didn't happen a lot. And you needed a new double colourless energy. You basically had to get 4 parts of the combo every turn. Now, if you got the 4 parts of the combo every turn, what you had was a super great non-GX deck that was really nice at trading prizes because you were only giving up 1 and this was in an EX heavy format where your opponent was giving up 2, and it just gave you a huge advantage. The problem is getting the combo going every turn was extremely difficult. You needed a lot of draw power, and that's where Lucky Helmet came in. And Lucky Helmet was a straight draw too, but something like Lucky Egg would have been quite nice as well. Although don't ever play 2 Lucky Egg together. Playing 2 Lucky Egg together is a bit silly, but because they both draw until you've got 7. So the first one lets you draw until you got 7, and then you go and play in the second one, and the second one goes, oh, you've already got 7 cards in hand, we're cool. Yeah. It's not ideal, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe just go for the 1. And we do have Pokemon that can take 2 tools at the moment. It's something like Genesect. So I think what we really need here is a non-GX deck that's kind of reliant on combos, but will work quite nicely. Now, I am kind of obsessed by the new Copperaja. That is a card from the set that has really taken my fancy. 3 energy, 220 damage, but if you've got 8 or more damage counters on, it does nothing. So you're going to need to constantly be drawing into your healing like Mallow and Lana, so that you can consistently heal up. And you're going to really need those Metal Saucer cards to accelerate energy onto your next Copperaja. Yeah, this is going to help quite nicely. Or maybe you want to use a new Frostmoth. That's the one that lets you attach as much water energy as you like from your hand to your bench water Pokemon. So you're going to need to keep drawing into water energy as often as you like, and this will work very nicely indeed. In a non-GX deck, you're expecting to give up 6 prizes through 6 individual KOs. Which means that there are 5 really, because the 6th KO you get KO'd, and then you lose. But this really gives us 5 opportunities for Lucky Egg to fire, and if you're lucky, then you basically get 4 situations in the game where you draw until you got 7 cards. In a tag team deck, 1. Maybe 2. Maybe you're using, you can't use Island Challenge Amulet, because it's also a tool. What a lot of tag team decks like to do nowadays is play Island Challenge Amulet So your second or first tag team only gives up 2 prizes, so your opponent's got to KO 3 of them to win. But you can't play Island Challenge Amulet and Lucky Egg. So the point here is that in a GX deck or a V deck or a tag team deck, you're probably not getting enough uses from Lucky Egg. Bit sad, but there we go. Non-GX deck, this could be really, really good. As long as there isn't a tool that you really want to play, this one is very much worth considering. Now there is an important question we need to ask before we finish today, and that is, how much play did Lucky Egg see when it came out in Arceus? Some. Not a huge amount. Wasn't a staple in every deck. It's all some play. It was alright. It came out here and there. But we're in a different format. A very different format. Back then it was all single prize Pokemon. So it is going to be really interesting to see how much play it sees now. Personally, I like it. I think it's really good. And I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wussies. We don't give half Wussies. That would be barbaric. There is a lot to like about this, and I expect to see it popped into a bunch of decks, though I am very much expecting it to come into decks that are non-GX decks. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are awesome. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.